Welcome, everyone, to the Paranormal Pride. I hope everybody had a great weekend and ready for the next guest on the Paranormal Pride. The good news is she's been on here before, but for a lot of you, this is the first time that you've seen the Paranormal Pride on a video cast. So this time you get to see her and get to enjoy her. My guest tonight is June Lundgren, Demon Seer, and she has an amazing story, and I think that you guys are going to love it. Or not. You might be scared shitless and decide that's not a gift I want to have. So let's welcome June Lundgren to the Paranormal Pride. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. Doing well.
So, how did you get I know it's a huge question because when you think demon seer, how does that work? How did you know it was demons? You know, there's a whole slew of questions that go along with that. So how did you know that you were seeing demons?
I could see them from a young age. From my grandmother raised me for the first 5 years. And she said that she knew immediately that I had gifts because the animals were communicating with me. I could see, spirits, and I could see the dark entities. And until I was about 4.5 years old, I saw them as most people do, either as a black mass or, they'll show themselves as a devil with horns or, black shadowy figure. But around 4.5, 5 years old is when how I saw them changed. I think Michael had said it's because I was more able to comprehend and understand, what was going on around me than at a younger age. And the first time I saw one in its true form, that was startling for me and it scared me. I'm, 5 years old. It's going to scare you. But Michael said, don't worry about it. He says, you're seeing them as we see them. You see them in their true form. He says, you see them through the angel's eyes. And he says, I want you to study them. I want you to watch and see how they work, what they do. And so you're a kid, you think, oh, it's a game. So you do it. He says, I will keep them from seeing you. So I did that. All my life, I think I had my first real encounter in the way that they actually responded to me. They actually saw me for the first time when I was in the military, and I was working in the emergency room and called in to go look for someone that hadn't showed up for his duty for 2-3 days, and I thought they were afraid that he is dead.
Right.
So the tech sergeant called us in, and he opened the door to this gentleman's room, and he was curled up in a ball over against the wall, and we weren't sure whether he was alive or dead. As we got further into the room, I could tell he was breathing, and then I heard a sound off to my left, and I saw this demon sitting up in the corner of the room watching, and I knew he was waiting for him to die. So I told the tech that was with me, I said, let's get him out of here. Let's get him to the emergency room. So we took him back to the emergency room. I went to get supplies to start an IV on him. When I came back in, the demon was hovering over him, trying to pull the life force from him.
Oh.
And I remember saying, you can't have him. He's ours.
Oh.
And whatever the demon saw in my face, it left in a hurry. So I took care of the young man, and a few days later I went to see him, and he said, I had the strangest dream. He said, in the dream, there was a demon and he was trying to take my life. He said, and then suddenly there was an angel and she stopped him. She sent him away. And I said, it's just, you have to look at it this way. I said that God's watching out for you, so don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. He's actually a chaplain's assistant. I found out later that someone had put angel dust into his soda.
Oh, well,
And
that's not good.
yeah, so he was kind of out of it for 3 days. He just kind of went off the deep end.
Mm.
So, but it's not fun. I never thought about it at that time that the demon must have seen something that it didn't like in me, which was for me confusing at the time. And then I got out of the military in 81 and I was helping people, with the mediumship and with, uh, you know, with, with entities in their homes and things like that, their paranormal experiences. But it wasn't until I died in a motorcycle accident in 1988 that I understood everything was revealed. And when a woman ran a red light and hit me, and I was clinically dead for 2 minutes. When I went to the other side, my grandparents were waiting for me, and Michael, the archangel, he was there. He says, "You're here because you need to understand who and what you are." He said, "Your physical body was created to hold the soul of Ariel, the archangel. She's an elite demon slayer." And I had no clue as to, who she was or anything like that. And he said, "Look upon yourself." And I said, "Well, it's a little hard. I don't have a mirror because, I'm still thinking like a human." And so this mirror appeared, and I looked a lot like him in the way that I was like 12 feet. I was 7 feet tall and had a 12-foot wingspan, and my hair was like a reddish auburn, and it was like all over the place, and I had blue green eyes. And he says, "Behold, this is who you truly are." He says, "You need to go back and you need to start doing what you're always meant to do to kill demons." So next thing I knew, I was back in my body. And it took me a while to grasp everything. And it just kind of, I didn't know who Ariel was. The only thing you could find on the web was that her name means Lion of God. And she's one of the 5 that guard the throne of God. But there's so much more to her. And when a year later, I got a call from my sister-in-law, and she says, "There's something wrong with your brother. His eyes are turning black, and he's like speaking in a foreign language, and he's growling." And I'm like, "Ah, great. One more thing." She said, "Can you come down?" So I'm like, "Okay." So I went down, and Michael and Gabriel were with me, and they said, "Listen, just get out of your car. Don't go in the house. Just get out of your car and call the demon to you." I'm like, "Yeah, right. You got my back." And they're like, "Yeah, we got your back. Don't
You
worry
have
about
this. Come on. Come
Yep.
on.
it." And so
Yeah, like Ron said, "Here, kitty, kitty."
it's like demon come forth, and this thing comes through the wall of the house. And it gets about arm's length away from me. And all of a sudden, my consciousness was like in the back, and she came forward and she grabbed it by the throat and said, "Stupid demon, know you not who I am?" And the demon looked really, really scared. And she sliced its throat and it disappeared. It's almost like it turns into molecules and that drifted up into space. And then Ariel's consciousness went back. And I told Gabe, I said, "You did that, you and Michael." I said, "You guys, use me as bait." They're like, "You had to understand that she would always come forward, that you would always be protected." So it's since then, I don't worry about them. They don't bother me. I'm not afraid of them. I just deal with it.
So not only do you see demons, then you see angels.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So at least it's not one-sided.
No, when before the war between heaven and hell, there was we were all light beings. We were all made of energy. Even the dark ones were not dark at that time. They were light. And what started the whole situation was, eons before that, we had physical bodies on another planet. And that's where God found us. We were a primitive race, and he helped us overcome war and famine and disease. And we evolved over time into pure energy. And we traveled to see everything in the galaxies and beyond. We traveled for hundreds of thousands of years. Our whole goal was to amass as much knowledge as possible, to see everything that could be seen. And then, later, a lot of the souls said, listen, we're tired of this. We've seen everything. We've been everywhere. We want to have physical bodies again. And Lucifer and his group said, no way, not happening. We do not want to be subject to a shell. We don't want to be subject to growing old, dying, disease, pain, none of that. So that's what started the whole war. And when it was over, Michael disarmed Lucifer and Ariel disarmed his son. And God said, I'm going to give you exactly what you want. You're never going to be able to take physical form, but you can't live among us anymore. So he opened a rift into a dark realm, and that's where he put them. And he sealed the realm. And over the centuries, they've learned how to create dark portals, doorways into our world. And so they've been trying to give man a hard time ever since.
Well, if we didn't have something to battle, I think we'd all be bored anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not saying in the paranormal world, in
right.
the world, period.
Yeah.
If it was all love and light all the time,
it'd be pretty boring. Yeah.
I you know what though? I'd go for boring at this point. But it's not humankind's nature to. It's their nature to have drama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 99.9% of the negative energy in the world comes from humans.
Yep. And it's from things as being as simple as being jealous of someone else or what they have, what they're doing. It doesn't matter. It's jealousy.
Yep.
And then the other one is ego.
Yeah. All about it.
I kind of wish I had a little bit of jealousy, maybe every once in a while, or maybe a little bit of ego. And I guess maybe I do have a little bit of ego. Jealousy, I don't have any. Never have. When you're the oldest, 9 times out of 10, you just don't care.
No. Yeah.
So I do have a question for you. Are you an only child?
No.
Okay. So where in the food chain do you live in your family?
I have 3 brothers. I have an older one, which we share the same father. And I have 2 younger ones, and they have a different father. But all my brothers are bipolar, unfortunately for me. But I got that from my mother. My mother was bipolar. It was not fun growing up because, my mother was very abusive, physically abusive. She'd beat you with a baseball bat, a board, whatever she could get a hold of. That's the way you grew up. So you grew up living in fear. And of course, my abilities, when my grandmother raised me for the first 5 years, and then I went to live with my mom. And I kept my abilities to myself because she didn't want me to have anything to do with that. So she would, if I said anything about it, you would get a beating. So you just learn to keep your mouth shut.
So she's going to beat it out of you one way or another.
Yep. So you didn't say anything until you went to grandma's house and talked to grandma.
Us grandmas are great, aren't we?
Yep. I wouldn't know. My son tells me I'm not a breeder, Mom.
Well, sometimes they do know best what they're best at.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. It's his life, not mine.
That's the way I look at it. I remember when my daughters got married. I had 2 that got married in the same year. And they go, so are you excited to become a grandma? And I go, I will be excited when they tell me that I'm going to be a grandma.
There you go.
That was it. I said, because it's not up to me.
Right.
It's up to them. And so when I found out that I was getting my first grandchild, I was ecstatic. And now I can't imagine my life without the 4 of them. And I don't know who I am sometimes without them. So
I can wait.
Yeah. And like I said, I was actually pretty old in my family to be a grandma. Most of my family members were grandmas before they were 40, and I was 50 before I became a grandma. And yes, everybody, I am still 29. So
and holding.
That's right. I'm always 29. But yeah, I mean, when we got our grandson, he was the first boy in my husband's family in 52 years.
Wow. Long time.
So, and we have boys in my family, but me and my sisters are the only kids in my mom's family that ever had kids. So
Yeah,
for that
none of my
for that whole family, actually, my
none of my
dad's family.
brothers had children. Thank God. Uh-oh. You're hearing the thunder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. We're having rain. We've been having rain all day here, but we had
Yeah.
some wildfires all over
Yeah.
the state of Missouri and parts of Kansas.
We did
because
too here in Oregon. Yeah.
yeah, we've been in a drought.
Yeah.
So,
I think everywhere's been in a drought. But
So-
it's things are we had enough rain hopefully to to blanket down the forest fires we have up in Oregon and Washington.
we have a very long question that I'm gonna read it, and we're gonna go from there. It's from Amanda Jane. She says, "I've suffered from sleep paralysis from 5 years old. My parents were told nightmares by the doctors. I could not move, shout until it passed. I'm feeling terrified and what would holler. Never grew out of them. They still scare me. I can visit a place and feel negativity. Escalated 5 years ago. A patch of awful time, I guess. We got help and it's gone. But since that light switch, I'm more open. Do you think sleep paralysis is connected?"
I don't think it's actually the paralysis itself. It's the entity that was causing the paralysis that opened her up.
So that's an interesting story. I mean, she'd been experiencing this since she was 5 and just recently. I mean, I don't know how old she is. I assume she's old enough to you have to be at least 14 to be on Facebook. Haha. So,
Yeah, but that's the thing. People think that when you have a demon attached, when a demon attaches to you, that they make a split-second decision and they're attached. But that's not true. They will watch you. They can watch you for days, weeks, months, years before they decide to attach themselves to you. And what she had attached to her was, from what I'm getting, was what I call a creepy crawly. It was a minion. But again, it was watching. It was seeing what she was all about and seeing if she was worth their time and interest. And that's what they do. I mean, for years.
why would a demon pick a certain person? What about their personality? Do they say, "Hey, I'm easy," or is it because they're such a good person they want to corrupt them, or it's just there's something about them that is open enough for them to take?
There are certain things that attract a demon. It will be if you have substance abuse, if you've been in an abusive situation or are in an abusive situation, if you have mental health issues, if you are depressed, if you are if you're being isolated and you're seeking someone to belong to, something to belong to. And sometimes it can be because of past lives where you've encountered demons in a past life, and that residual energy will stick with you throughout successive lives. People don't understand that the physical body has cell memory, but the soul consciousness has cell memory as well. It remembers every single thing it ever did, every lifetime, everything. It's there. So there can be residual negative energy there, and that may even attract them.
So we have a question from a guest. Very interesting. She says, "Good evening. I was drawn to this tonight. So apparently something about you drew her in, because she's never found me before. So it has to be you. Wondering if my brother has anything to say to me today. It's been a hard time." Do you do that type of reading?
I do, but I usually don't do it on the air because, if there's something negative that comes through or there's something personal that they want the living person to know, I don't want to air it on She can get a hold of me, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll answer, and I'll with their
Good.
question, and I'll answer it. Yeah, it's not a
And
problem.
you are so good about that. I've sent you some friends, some very close friends of mine, and you were able to help them and get them to a place of peace after you. The thing is it's funny. These people, my friends, always contact me when I'm on a trip. Okay. I'm on the road. I'm in the middle of Arizona. I'm in the middle of New Mexico, someplace where I have hardly any service going across 40, but they contact me. And this last time the last two times that we were in Kingman, Arizona, this friend contacted me, and it was really strange that he contacted me, because normally it doesn't.
Mhm.
But whatever it is that you said to him really helped him a lot. And I was so grateful for that, because he'd been being attacked often. And, and if I send somebody help, like in the case of you,
Mhm.
I've already done my research on what's bothering them
Mhm.
to know who I needed to contact to help them. You
Right.
understand what I'm talking?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I know I see myself as a medium matchmaker. I can make a psychic medium to a person based on what I know about them,
Right.
what they need to hear, and who they need to hear it from,
Right.
and how they need to hear it. Because some people, like I have one friend I call the effing medium. There are some people that need to hear it like that.
Yeah.
And there's other people that need to hear it with, oh, it's that, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? The
Yes, I know.
skipping through the forest kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
the little bunny foo-foo part. And
Yeah.
then there's others that need to know that, yeah, there's dark stuff out there, and this is how you deal with it. And that's how you deal with it, it seems to me.
Yep.
So, and since she's asked, we're going to go ahead and can you tell people where they can find June Lundgren?
Yeah, you can go to my website, mysticconnections.org or demonseer.com. You can also find me now that I have my Facebook page back. Unfortunately for me, it was hacked for about a month and I had no access. But now that I have it back, you can go to June Lundgren on Facebook and connect as well.
So, but like I said, you have been there to help me with things that only you would know how to deal with. You've reached out to me on a couple cases that I had that that they needed help. And I didn't put out there, hey, I need help.
Right.
You just contacted me privately and said, here's what you're dealing with. Contact me when you get there and we'll deal with this. And because I'm not one, if I'm asking for help, I'm doing it privately, because
Right.
I don't want anybody to think that I'm airing their laundry.
Right. Exactly.
Like you were talking about, you don't want to do it publicly because of the fact that there may be something that's very intimate to the person who's being told the information.
Yeah. And
I've had online readings, and I've made sure that people know, hey, she may say something, she or he may say something
right.
that might not be what you want to hear and might get under your skin.
Yeah.
And that's really should be how it is. I mean, if you say something, it should really get under their skin. So,
and the thing is, it's like I have a code I live by. I don't look into things unless I'm asked. And I'll tell you, people come to me for readings. I tell them, you know what? If you don't want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, don't come to me, because I'm going to tell you everything, whether you want to hear it or not. Because if I'm given something, something negative, it's for a reason. It's to help. It's not because we're saying, oh, you're a bad person, blah, blah, blah. But no, they may come from the other side and they may say, hey, get away from this person. Don't do that. Don't take this job. Don't do that job. I'm going to tell it like it is, because I would want somebody to tell me.
So one of the things that I hear from psychic mediums and others is, you know, their retention of the information. So you're reading a person. Do you retain that information for a period of time, or once you tell them it's done, it's off, it's out of your head, you don't hear it anymore?
No, that's it. I get the information, give it to the person. I'm just the messenger, and then it's gone.
Because that's what I tell people all the time. I hear it, I give you the information, I'm done, it's gone. I don't remember what I told you the next time I see you.
Yep.
I feel weird if somebody remembers everything. A medium remembers everything she tells a client, or he tells a client, because of the fact that they're retaining it for some reason.
Yeah. Either they're going to have to deal with that client again, or the other side is pushing hard and they want you to make sure that the individual gets that message. They're very, very determined to get that message to that individual.
Well, people are hard-headed.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And what part of the military did you serve?
I spent 2 years in the Army getting my nurses training, and 3 years in the Air Force getting my EMT training.
So, well, perfect. And thank you so much for your service. That's really important, because we are a veteran entangled network. Almost everybody on here is been in the military or is a first responder.
Yeah, it's been 5 years in. That was enough. Time to go home.
And you live up near Astoria? Well,
I live closer to Portland. Yeah, Oregon City. Yeah.
Yes. So you were on Ghost Adventures for the Astoria event that they had.
Right. I had done an investigation several months prior to the actual show, the interview for the show, and they had found out about, the investigation that we had done, and that I had removed some demons at the location. So Jeff Ballinger, he contacted me. He got a hold of me on Facebook, and I sent him my phone number. We spoke as we were having a conversation. The demon decided to interrupt the conversation and start growling through the phone. And he's like, "What was that?" I said, "Nothing, just a demon." Continue.
I tell you, that was my favorite part, was talking with Jeff. I could care less about anything else. And I mean, for 2 weeks, I told Ron about every aspect of that phone call with Jeff, because that is, so when I was on, they, of course, they pre-interview everybody before they set them up to be met by Ghost Adventures. So Jeff is their research person on that. And Dave Schrader was too. I don't know if he still is, but I loved every second of talking with Jeff, because he's got my dream job.
Yeah.
I wish I could be the person that's out there researching and interviewing this and actually making a living at it.
Right.
So, but I like his attitude and the way he deals with stuff. But the biggest thing was, and I know we talked about this when you were on my show 4 years ago, almost to the day.
Oh, Lord, 4 years.
And well, the funny thing is I did that show from my cousin's living room. I was on vacation. And so when we're doing the show, it's me on the computer, and all my family is sitting around watching. And I did not count on my aunt having being in the she wasn't in the ER. She was in ICU when I got to town. And so I wasn't counting on all of these family members that I first of all, hadn't seen in years. My sister shows up with her boyfriend, and we're not going to talk about him, but, and I hadn't met, like I said, I hadn't met some of these people. One of my cousins did not know that I was her cousin until then. And she's telling me about her haunted house. But yeah, it was weird. You got to be involved in my family reunion just by being there. So, and we had the event. I mean, this was in a haunted house. It was my great grandparents' house. So it was unusual for all this stuff. And I tell you, I loved every second of that, and so did they, because they got to see how I do this. Because then it wasn't video; it was
Just audio.
it was just audio. But that's when they realized that this is how I talk. My hands are moving the whole time that we're talking. My face is making whatever face it's making, resting witch face, whatever you want to call it. It's doing that. And they were able to watch. And one thing Ron said was, you never made that I don't believe you face with you. I never made that face. And I don't know if it's because other people were watching me or because I didn't have it. And I do have this I don't believe you face. It's this. But I do make that face every once in a while, and it's not that. It's just I'm thinking and going, that's weird. But if I hold it for too long, then she's not buying my BS today. So the thing about you on the show that amazed me was that Zach had said, can you transfer your abilities to me? And you did. And it basically blew him up where he couldn't come out of his hotel room. He couldn't look at people and stuff like that because he was seeing what you saw. Mm-hmm. How easy was it for you to transfer for the transference? And how easy was it for you to take it back?
Simple. It's quite simple. There's only one other person that has had I'm going to be crude here, that had the balls to want to see what I see. And, I think Zach just did it out of giggles and fun.
You mean for
some of it? Yeah.
Yeah. You mean for paratainment?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's quite simple to do. But like I said, I warn people, you don't really want to see what I see. And, Billy was my cameraman during that time. And he's like, we're talking and he's like, I hear this high-pitched frequency. It's just in my left ear. And I'm like, oh, you're talking about the demon that's whispering in your ear? I said, don't worry about it. It's okay. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. We were talking off camera and I told him, I said, you know what? He's going to hear what I hear. He's going to see what I see. And until I take it back from him, he will continue. And I said, that's something that he doesn't want to do. And I told Corey, the producer, I said, he needs to come back and let me take it away. Because the first thing out of their mouth when I was on the show is because the demon that was there was the one that took his sight in the demon house. Mm-hmm. And the demon came to me long before I was on the show and said, you're going to be talking to him. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I know that we're going to talk about that kind of stuff too, because I want to know more about why that happens. But yeah, the pre-visits that that you're going someplace before you're told you're going someplace, or you're not going.
Yeah, and they know you're going before you're going.
Yeah. So,
but he's just, the demon's like, I have a message for him. I'm like, all righty then.
And at this point, he had already torn down that house in Gary.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was long after that. Yep.
So at this point, he's carrying this demon around with him. And I mean, of course, I've always suspected that he had one in his pocket. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but
this demon took his sight and then left him, but Zach continued to do what the demons don't like, which is provoke and to talk down about them. And that's why if this old demon comes up here to give you a message, you better listen.
Well, we know he hasn't listened.
No.
Because
I warned him, if you don't, not my problem.
Yeah. So how long did it take before he's going, you got to get this away. Got to get this out of me?
He ran out of the hotel after he broke. He was holding my hand, and then he said, what you don't hear on the episode is, he said, at first there was this beautiful white light and it felt so peaceful. I told him, yeah, that was the angelic part of me. I said, And then he said, it's like a curtain came down and I saw it chained to the wall. And that's when that's where he ripped his hand away from mine. Because the demon had went for his back. And I asked him, I said, how's the back? He said, why do you ask that? I said, because they go for your weakest part. I said, that was the weakest part of you. And he ran literally. I was, they said, the investigation's open right now. And I thought, okay, I'll wander upstairs into the hotel. So I was heading upstairs and he ran out of the hotel into a waiting vehicle and took off. And poor Aaron's trying to catch up with him. Yeah, it's not happening. And he called Billy and he says, I don't think that woman knows what she's talking about. I'm thinking to myself, you don't know what you're talking about. I deal with these things every day. So this is not something that is new to me. This is not something that I haven't dealt with. And I'm not a fake. So there you go.
Well, I know that on the show, they made it seem like it was a long time that he had what could see what you could see.
It was probably a matter of 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Because like I said, they made it seem like it was hours.
Yeah, no. 10, 15 minutes. He was more than willing to get rid of it.
So if anybody asks that again, what is your answer?
You have to be prepared to see what I see.
How would you prepare for that?
You can't. That's just it. You cannot. It's when you see a demon and you look at in their true form and you look at their face, they hardly have any features at all except the eyes. And when you look in the eyes, you see every evil imaginable and then some, just pure evil. It's enough to make you have nightmares for the rest of your life. But I grew up seeing that. So I'm so used to it. I don't pay no attention. But when somebody else sees it, it's totally different. It's like it hits them like a ton of bricks.
I see stuff that I can't explain, and I see all different, but I'm not sure I ever have seen a true demon from hell.
Yeah.
I've seen something.
You're not missing anything.
Well, there was one thing that I did see in my house, but that's a long story, and we're not going to get into that. I'm going to save that for the show on Thursday night, guys. You guys all see what I saw, but it's strange. I mean, and when you say the eyes, this thing, it didn't have. I mean, I could see the eyes. It basically just had little holes where the nose would have been,
right,
and a mouth with lots of teeth. But it did not have. There was no real distinguishing features. Mm-hmm. But again, as humans, we stare. When we meet somebody, we look at. Well, we're supposed to look at their eyes. You're looking their eyes so that we can tell whether or not we want to be friendly with this person. Because this as everybody else does. The eyes will tell you about a person's soul.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, mine look black. Oh, well.
Yeah, their eyes are usually, the old demons' eyes are usually golden. And the minions and the young demons, the lesser demons, they're always red.
This one was red.
Mm-hmm.
And I can, like I've described this thing multiple times. And because I took down notes. I mean, as soon as I was able to talk about what I saw, I wrote it all down.
Yeah, it's better to write it down when it's fresh. Yeah.
Because I don't want to forget, but I also don't want to remember. So it's written down, so I don't have to remember it. I just have to remember where I wrote it down at.
True.
And of course, when you're 29, you get forgetful.
Yeah, because you're busy. You got a lot of things on your plate.
So we were talking about pre-visits.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that you were told that that your event was going to happen, that you were going to be on Ghost Adventures, and you're probably told before you go anywhere what to expect or who you're going to see. And is that normal?
For me, it's like I can sense a demon coming for months, even years in advance. I get the name of the demon. I just wait for the other shoe to drop. It's that for me, it's common and for most people, if you stop and think about it, ghosts know, they know you're going to be somewhere before you know you're going to be somewhere because they can see the future. And it's like demons. People don't understand that demons can see your future as well. They see what you're going to become. They see what you're going to do. And if they think that you're going to work for the light and you're going to cause problems for them, they're going to do everything they can to stop you.
But okay. On that, we all know that we're free will. Mm-hmm. So just because one future presents itself, do they know every decision we're going to make to get to that? Or, no. Okay, because I assume that we can always change.
Yeah, they know the main points. They know the main points, like when, that you're going to die at like 80 years old. They don't know exact dates, but they know you're going to die of a heart attack at 80 years old. You're going to be born on this day, and you're going to become a doctor, or you're going to have kids, but not the little stuff in between.
Okay, so just the major things that are preset in your destiny.
Right.
Okay, so on the other part of that, so is it only demons that make themselves aware to you about the things that's going to, make the pre-visits to you? Or is it just you're going to go on an investigation and stuff? Do the spirits also do the same thing to you?
Yeah, the spirits will do it. The Legion will do it, the archangels, because I hang with them quite a bit. So they'll tell me, something's coming, and this is when it's coming, and you're not going to like it or whatever. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Just I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm not worried about it. You don't borrow trouble by looking ahead. I just know something's coming. I can feel it within myself, and I just wait for the other shoe to drop.
Because I tell people, like this past weekend, we went to our niece's wedding, and I had many visitors prior to saying that they basically RSVP'd for the wedding.
Right. Exactly.
So
weddings, funerals. Yeah.
And really weddings are much more difficult, I think, than funerals.
Yeah.
But I was telling, and if Karen's listening, she'll agree. Ron and Roger were walking their mother down the aisle, and she asked me the next day, because during the wedding and the reception, there's no way you're going to hear me.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear me talking over the music, and if you do, then something's really bad.
Yeah.
To be honest, either the music's really bad or there's nobody there. It's bad.
Right. Yeah.
But I said, yeah, Harold was there. I said, he had his hand on your back. And Ron said he felt like he was being pushed up the aisle.
Yeah.
And of course, that's his dad.
Yeah.
And of course, Harold felt that it was his job to be taking his wife to her seat.
Right.
And apparently they weren't going fast enough for Harold. So
they can get a little pushy.
Yeah, and in this case he did. And then they asked me, what else did you see? And I said I saw Taylor's other grandma was there when she was with her grandfather, her other grandfather, and she was there with her arms around both of them. And she goes, that's weird, because he didn't even know he was her dad until later in life, her mother's dad, until later in life. And they made sure that they had a good relationship. And he said something to her before she died. I don't know what he said to her before she died, but it was apparently very forgiving. And she was just so glad to see her granddaughter getting married. And I mean, I'd seen Linda before. I knew Linda. My mother-in-law lucked out. She got 2 mother-in-laws for her children. Both names were Linda. So she didn't have to remember much. And so it was just really strange, because I had seen Linda at a party we had earlier in the year, and they go, where is she? I said, she's sitting in that chair. Nobody would sit in that chair after that. And so, and something else happened, but like I said, as far as family goes, I knew they were there and that they were coming. So I wasn't surprised, but I don't know.
Everybody shows up for the big events.
Oh yeah. I mean, the fun ones, everybody wants to have a beer with or a glass of water with everybody. So, but it was a lovely wedding. We had a great time, and so did the spirits. And I think they were just as worn out as we were.
More than likely. It's like, it's exhausting being in the physical world,
Yeah. And
I know that when I had just conceived, my husband and I were trying to have a baby. And the next day I heard, congratulations, it's a boy. And it's like, it was my grandfather. And I'm like, cool. And he says, and he's going to be a big boy. And I'm like, okay. So I named him after my grandfather. And my son was born 11 pounds, 4 ounces, 22 and a half inches long. And he's 6'2" now, and he's 32. But my son would kill me. But he has abilities as well. He's the last of our line. It's been handed down from generation to generation to all the females in the family. But he's the last of our line. So unfortunately for him, he has abilities too.
Well, do you think that's the reason why he's decided he's not material?
He's not dealing with it. Yeah. But as he's getting older, he's becoming more accepting of it.
So are you kind of mentoring him?
I never push, all these years I've never pushed or anything like that, because I figure he'll come to it in his own time. And I'm not going to push him, because he doesn't want to deal with the demons, and I don't think he should. But the thing is, it's important for him to have confidence in what he's seen. So he'll come to me for validation. I'm like, yeah, that's what they said, or this is what you're seeing, that helps him a lot. But he's a very private person. So he kind of keeps to himself.
So Jane asks, she asks, when you read for people, can you tell if they have a gift too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And how easy is that for you to know?
It's really easy. I just know. My grandmother used to call it the knowing. But I also know that there have been over 300,000 warrior angels born into the physical in the last 50 years. And so we're having a lot more warrior angels coming to me. And they're wanting to know, when they come to me, I know automatically that they are a warrior angel, what their gifts are, and what the angelic name is. So I've seen, over the last 3 years, I've seen close to 3,000 of them.
Wow.
Why more?
Yeah, why more? Ron just asked.
Because the darkness is trying to, the light is trying to push back the darkness, and the darkness is becoming very, very desperate.
Does this mean more like end of times kind of stuff?
No, not so much that, but the end of the rule of the demonic in the physical world. And God told me a couple of years ago, he says, it's time for me to take back the earth. He said, the demons have had it for long enough. It's time for us to take back the earth.
I agree. The demons have had it long enough.
Yeah. So I said, that's fine. I said, I'm killing them. I'm killing them by the dozens. So no problem.
How do you know that you actually killed a demon, or are you just sending them back to hell to a cage?
No, don't send them back. I kill them because I have one foot in the other side and one foot in the physical world. And when Ariel comes forward, she's in a different plane of existence, and she fights the demons in their realms of existence. So that when she has white light swords, and when she does battle, it's kind of like, days of the nights and stuff. When she does battle with them and she kills them, she doesn't send them back. She kills them. She slices their head off. And then you see these particles spread going up into the stars. And demons cannot, once you kill a demon, they can't come back. They're gone. That's it. Their consciousness ceases to exist. And God made a determination 3 years ago. He said, I'm tired of you sending them back to the darkness. He says, we need to send a message. Lucifer was right when he told me I was too lenient. He said, so be it. He said, from now on, you have my permission to kill the demons. So that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years.
Well, if they fail, they decide to be rift.
Yep. They do. They do.
That's putting the corporate spin on it.
Yeah, and Lucifer agrees with that. There's a lot of rogue demons that have decided that they want to branch out on their own, and him and his followers track them down. They track them down and kill them.
Oh, so and for those of you who don't know what rift is, reduction in force. just so you, for those of us who have been laid off before, we already knew, but we have Jane. She goes, they say I have a gift, but do I? Do you know if, like you said, if someone does, can you remotely tell somebody that if you think they may have a gift?
Yeah, if they just send me an email.
There you go, Jane.
Questions, then I can connect.
And we'll share the links again at the end of the show. And you can also go to the event page where you found the show, and it's all in there, unless you've added new links that I didn't know about. But they all worked when I checked them. So Susan asks, why do you think that abilities pass down a family line?
They're usually inherent in its heredity. Plus, like I said, the soul has cell memory. And we move in family circles on the other side, so that it's not just physical family circles, but it's spiritual family circles as well. So these gifts will come out, and especially with people that are warrior angels, or there are 7 archangels in the world today. And I know I'm one of them, and I know where the other 6 are, and I've met the other 6. But, we're a rarity, and not all of us are demon slayers.
Okay, so that opens up another can of worms. And did you meet them physically, or have you just basically talked to them like on Skype or something like that? Or
I've met 2 of them physically, and the rest on Skype and on Zoom.
So how do you validate that? Is because you see them in their true form?
Yeah, I see what's inside of them, and I will tell them about themselves, and everything that I tell them is exactly, and they have dreams, and I'll tell them what kind of dreams they have and what they look like in the dreams. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's because the archangels are connected to each other.
So are you saying that you kind of share dreams with these people?
I can see what they dream. Their angels will give me the information.
Because that's funny, because Ron was sharing a story about having a dream that his brother had a dream at the same time. He was finishing Ron's words. Is it because he truly had the same dream, or that it was transferred to him to where he saw the same dream? I don't think we'll ever know.
I think it's the connection. Someone's giving them the dream. They're open. Somebody's giving them the dream, and they're connecting with both of them at the same time. It's like people ask, well, how can Michael the Archangel be in 1,000 places at the same time? I said, because there's no distance on the other side. There's no distance. There's no time. He can literally be in 1,000 places at the same time. And the spirit, your grandmother can be in 1,000 places at the same time, or 2 places, to talk to both grandsons at the same time.
I can see that. My grandmother was always, she had eyes in the back of her head, so she was always in more than one place at one time.
Oh, yeah. Grandmas always are.
Yeah, she still is. I mean, she's every day at 12:34. I can guarantee I know where she is, and I don't know if she's with all my sisters at that time or if she's just with me, but I always know where she is at 12:34, whether it's morning or night. I know where she is.
Yeah.
So, I'm planning on a break at the top of the hour so that we can go and get drinks if we need to, or take a health break. So everybody be aware, we're going to take a break here in about 5 minutes. And so what is the strangest thing that strange to you? Okay. So, because to us, whatever you're seeing is going to be strange. Okay. So strange to you, thing that you've seen that has revealed itself to you.
A harpy.
Okay. That's funny because I drew a harpy in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm. I was traveling home one night. It was actually in October, and it was it was dark. I was working late, and I was traveling home, and I hear this, like, I'm driving my car down this Singer Hill in Oregon City. It's a very sharp hill, and all of a sudden I hear these what sound like wings and talons clicking. The talons clicking and wings like leather wings. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm looking, I'm trying to see what it is, and my sister, who's one of my guardians, she's like, don't pay attention, just drive, keep driving. Of course, that's not going to happen. So I'm like, I'm stop in the middle of Singer Hill. There's nobody behind me, and I'm like looking, and I see him. And I'm like, holy crap! It looks like something out of Greek mythology. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. And so she said, just go home. So I went home. They're like harbingers of death.
Yeah.
And it's like, alrighty, I know it's not my death, so they must be out and about looking for somebody.
Well, maybe, Ron doesn't see much as far as the way of spirits go, but he saw something that was similar to that. And it was along a twisty, turny road on a rainy night, and didn't know if it was a harbinger trying to either warn him that this is a sharp turn coming up, or that a lot of people have lost their lives here, or if it was just a residual spirit that was wandering the road. Maybe that's what it was. It didn't have a face. It was just like, it had like a hood, and its face was just white glow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could very well be.
So it was just a harbinger, so a warning.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Kind of like in Ireland when the banshees are wailing.
Yeah. That would be something strange to hear, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
I was in Scotland. I didn't hear. I talked to some elementals, but I didn't hear any.
Now I'm going to have to ask about that when we come back, because I want to know more how. Well, we might have. I mean, in the 2 minutes that we got left, minute and a half that we have left of this part of the show. How do you know that? How do you know that it's a elemental, not just something else?
I can see them.
I mean, and do you see them just?
Yeah, I see them as I've seen them like as fairies. I've seen them like as gnomes. They're kind of funny. Some of them can be pretty pissy, but for the most part, they're just protective of the earth.
Yeah, we have one of our co-producers believes in fairies, and he's in England or the UK, and it's strange to hear. He basically says, "Don't piss them off." Yeah. So So everybody, we're going to take a break. Please come back in a couple minutes, and we'll continue this conversation.
For the past 6.5 years, Paula and Gavin have traveled the U.S. to investigate the mysterious, the unknown, and the paranormal. They were always outsiders, only able to experience events through their own eyes. On their next journey, they joined forces with 6 investigative paranormal teams across the country to explore their local legends side by side. Join us as we learn the stories, meet the teams, and gather the evidence to determine if these tales are truth or legend.
Hi, everybody. Brandon here, host of Shaman Sundays. Join me every Sunday as we discuss everything from the paranormal to self-healing. We'll sprinkle in a couple of fun guests along the way. Show airs 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central every Sunday right here on the Bill of Rights Network. #born. Join me, won't you?
The views expressed here are solely the opinions of the hosts and the guests, and not necessarily those of the network, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. If you have an issue with the content of the show, please contact the show host. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rex.
And I'm Shane.
We have a new show on the Bill of Rights Network. It is called Music, Movies, and Maybe More.
We explore bands that we've heard of that a lot of people haven't, that we feel like you should know about.
And we do the same with movies. There's a lot of movies out there that we know about that other people should know about as well.
And as for the maybe more part, you never know what else we can come up with.
So, on the Bill of Rights Network, every Saturday night, live at 7 p.m. Central Time, Music, Movies, and Maybe More will be on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there. Now we'll return you back to Paranormal Pride and Denise Pridemore.
Howdy ho, everyone. And I'm going to tell you, if you have a problem with the content and it sounded kind of witchy, if it's my content, please let me know. I'd like to know. I really would, to know what your problem is with me. Because I may just show you the way out.
Tell you why you're wrong.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. That's what Ron said. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. So, but I did have fun making the disclaimer. Ron said I sound a little bit grumpy in it. To be honest, we got tired of getting kicked off. You know, our guests getting kicked off Facebook, or our host getting kicked off Facebook, getting our YouTube channel taken down for having an opinion.
Oh,
So, needless to say, this is the Bill of Rights Network. We're entitled to our opinion. So, there you go. And I probably just got us kicked off of everything now for having an opinion. And I stuck away from all the bad words. So, but yeah, I tell you, the minute I'm not having fun doing this, you know what I'm not doing? I'm not doing this. I'm having fun. So June, I'd like to welcome you back, and I'm so happy that you're here. I love hearing from you because you are such a wealth of knowledge. And we have a question here from Barbara, and you kind of spoke to it anyway, but we're going to go ahead and ask it directly. Can spirits be with multiple people at the same time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's like party line. Remember the old party lines?
Oh, yeah. I work for a telephone company, so yes, I do.
See what I mean? Party lines.
So if a spirit is showing itself, maybe not showing itself, but can it show itself in different places at the same time? Mm-hmm. And if it can, does it weaken it when it's doing that?
No, doesn't weaken it at all. They don't lose any power from it. it takes a lot of power for them to move something in the physical world. But for them, people fail to understand is they're not really seeing them with their eyes. They're, they're telepathically, their image is being projected by the spirit or by the demon or by the angel into their mind. So they're not actually seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting anything. It's all done telepathically. They consider verbal communication a lower form of communication. At least that's what Michael says.
Okay. So if that's the case, is it quite possible that angels, aliens, and demons are all part of the same group?
No.
Okay. Because when we describe alien communication, it's very similar to what you just described.
Yeah, telepathic. Yeah, I know. I've
ran
into them. I'd rather not. Thanks.
Ran into aliens? Okay.
Well,
and that's a whole other conversation. So
yeah.
We're going to stick with this one for now. And if we run out of stuff to talk about, we'll head back to the aliens. Or if somebody has questions, and please, anybody, if you have questions out there and you really want an answer, this is the place to put it, is in the chat room that you're in, and we will ask the questions. And if you're listening to this in replay, if you have questions, please put it in there. We'll see them. I'll ask the questions. I'm more than willing to contact any guests that I've had on before to ask the question that you have. So, and this one's from Carl. He asks, what are your thoughts on reincarnation?
It happens all the time. This is my 131st lifetime.
And how many lifetimes do you think you're going to have?
This is the last one.
And that's why everything's being passed to your son.
Right. Ariel was sent back to relive human lives in 1198 AD. She ripped the demon out of a human, and the human died. So God said, you know what? You don't have any compassion for mankind. So I'm going to make you go and live human lives until you learn to have compassion. Well, she's not happy about that, needless to say. But needless to say, she's very stubborn. This is why this is life number 131. And she's finally learned to have compassion.
Okay, so she's not jumping from you to your son. Your son has a whole other angel that's his.
Yes. Ariel is, people don't seem to understand. Ariel is me. I am Ariel. The physical body holds her. So my soul is Ariel. That's why I can remove a demon in a matter of seconds.
So you're the Ziploc bag.
I'm a Ziploc bag. Yeah. She doesn't like that term, but I prefer.
I know
she doesn't like that either.
Well, I mean, if you go back to Supernatural in the show, they would call it a meat suit, and that's even worse. I think
I don't like that either.
Yeah, Ziploc bag is much better. Vessel, that's probably the term that's most frequently used. So I'm just trying to make it entertaining. So is your son a reincarnation?
Michael the Archangel and Ariel the Archangel, they are soulmates, and they had a son and a daughter. The son is within my son, and the daughter is in my best friend in the UK.
I just find that so interesting because I feel like I'm me and no one else has been in, I don't feel like I'm sharing anything with anybody else.
Well, it's like when
I don't know.
It's like when I went to the other side, and Michael said to me, "You know who you are, right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just me." And he's like, "No." I said, "Within you resides the soul of Ariel the Archangel." And that's because I always knew that there was something else within me, but I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I just knew that I knew things that most people didn't know, and I could see things most people couldn't see, even my grandmother, who was a psychic medium. So once I died and went to the other side, and then it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Okay. That all makes sense.
I got a couple more questions here. We're going to go with Susan's first. Have you ever seen Lucifer?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you said so earlier, but
many times. Spoken with him many times.
why? I mean, did he have a message for you about what? Oh, that's right. You were talking about the rogue demons and stuff where he said,
Yeah.
I
got a call about, I did a show called Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis. He did a 4-hour special on me, and I got like over 200 requests for help in the first week. And one of them was a woman that said that she was possessed by multiple demons. And I thought, okay, it's either true or you're a psycho. So send me a picture. So, so they sent me a picture. I'm like, oh, good. Yeah. 11 demons. All right. I get it. So I have a friend that's an ordained minister, and God told me, he says, you need to ask him to come with you on this case. And I'm like, okay. He says, God said he fears the dark ones, and you can't fear the dark ones and do my work. So I contacted him, and he was up for going in on the possession case, the exorcism. And a friend of mine, Wendy, who is my partner in the Ghosts and Girls Paranormal, she came as well. And I told them, you'll have to prepare because this is something you've never been in on before. So we get there, I knock on the door, the woman answers the door, and it's not the woman. The eyes are black. She's growling at me in Aramaic and slams the door, tells me, get out of here, bitch. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So I knock on the door again, and we go inside. And it's like, so it took me about 2.5 hours to remove 10 of the demons. There were 11 within her. The last one, I looked into its mind to see why it was there, what its purpose was. And I found out that it was given a job to do by Lucifer and just simply blew it off and didn't do it. And you don't do that to Lucifer and still survive. So I told it, I said, listen, if you want to go home, I will ask Jesus if he will come for you. If you're truly repentant and you want to go home. And the demon's like, I can't go home. I'm like, if you truly want to, you can. And so I said, Jesus, come forth. And my friends are standing in front of me, and they part as this huge arm made of white light comes out. And the hand reaches towards the woman. And the demon looked like it was going to take him up on it. And then it pulled back at the last minute and said, no, you're lying, you're lying. And so Jesus retracted his arm and left. And I said, so be it. Lucifer, come forth. And my friends saw this entity, a black entity, appear at the end of the hallway. And for them, they saw him. He was dressed in double-breasted suit, spats, fedora, and walking towards us. And for me, I just saw him in his true form. And Lucifer comes up and said to the demon, come with me. And the demon refused. And Lucifer looked at me and said, I know you don't want me to harm the woman. So I'll be back for it tonight. So we all left 3 a.m. We all woke up in our respective beds and heard it's done. And the next day I talked to the woman. She says, I haven't felt empty like this in 20 years. I said, please get counseling because you have massive PTSD from having these demons. So last I knew, she was getting plenty of counseling. But my friends to this day, and this was like 5 or 6 years ago, they still cannot believe. My friend who's the minister said, I've always known Jesus existed, and I've always known Lucifer existed. But to see them virtually in the same place at the same time, he says, I still can't get over that. I said, welcome to my world.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you guys are going to have to tune in next week when I have on Reverend Michael Norton, and he's the counselor that counsels people that have had the affliction that June's talking about. And I lucked out. He's in Florida as opposed to in California right now. So, because, normally, you guys don't realize, I mean, it's 7 o'clock here, it's 5 o'clock there. He's at work at that time. So, me getting him on, yes, it's great. And so we'll be talking to him next week. And tomorrow night on the other show, Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, we're going to have on demonologist Farrah Rose. So not that I have a demon thing going on right now. It's just how I booked everybody. So it's kind of, this topic is going to lead into tomorrow night's topic. That's going to lead into next Monday night's topic. So I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So please make sure you tune in this haunted season for the Paranormal Pride and Paranormal Radio, Haunted Vortex, and Shaman Sundays with Brandon Cooper. So it's going to be great going through all this. But your stories are always, I know they're fact-based. And so we're going to go back to a question from Angela. I am so grateful she's here. I hadn't really talked to her since she left the shop where my Emily was working. Whole different problem. So she's a good friend. She's a very good friend, Emily. Oh, not that one. Well, we will ask this one. We'll ask Ruth's, and then we'll go back to Angela's. So I know a man whose eyes turn black and his face kind of changes real black. I have known him for many years. Would this person be a demon?
He's not. It's the demon. The demon does not reside within him, but the demon can work through him.
Again, I'm speechless. I have to come up with questions on that. So Angela asks, I've caught many orbs in my door camera at night. Is someone trying to communicate?
The thing is, people don't understand that just in the room that I'm in alone, there are hundreds of orbs. Hundreds. It's like if people could see what I see, it's like walking in New York in the middle of rush hour. They're everywhere all the time. And orbs are low energy manifestations of human spirits. If they're blue, they're angelic. If they're white, they're usually a human spirit. If they're red, they're not so good.
Okay. Like I said, I will be sharing a picture in another show about something that I saw. So what are you're the last of your line, or you're the last Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
What is the final goal besides, her moving on to her final place? Does she have a final goal for you?
I will continue to do the demonic removals. I'll continue to fight the darkness because spiritual warfare is everywhere. I've seen my death at the age of 93, and I'm going to go to sleep and I'm not going to wake up again. And I'm good with that. I don't have an issue. I got another 30 years. So.
I think most of us are good with I fall asleep when I'm old and I die. Nobody wants
that's a first time for her because she usually ends up being either burned at the stake, strangled, hung, take your pick. She's never had really good endings because,
because she was on a path that she had to finish before she could peacefully go into the good night.
Right. And this is, I have a new book, which I put out in March called Demon Seer, The Awakening. And it is the first in a series of 4 volumes of knowledge that I've accrued in all the lifetimes, that Ariel has accrued in all the lifetimes that she's lived. And these are all going into these 4 volumes. And that's one of the other things that she's supposed to I'm supposed to achieve in this lifetime to pass
Okay.
on the knowledge.
And Angela's feedback to you is that what she saw had red eyes.
Yeah, demon. Yeah.
So, and Susan asks, can you see others' death and age?
I can, but
Is
I
that-
don't. I can, but it's not information that I tell people.
Well, because if you know, I mean, we all know we have an expiration date.
Yep.
But if we know that expiration date, will we change how we live our life? Are we going to spend the rest of our life trying to cheat death?
can't.
Or are we going to actually live our lives to
That's
the
the thing.
fullest?
Yeah, it's better not to know. I know only because God thought that this is what I needed to know, and that I would be doing the work for a long time. You know,
And-
I got 30 more years to go. So
Oh, well, I hope I have at least that. After this morning, I wasn't thinking that.
30.
but
Wow.
it's better not to know, because then you just live your life normally. If there have been a few times when I have gone to people and said, listen, I had a friend, I said, listen, I want you to tell your mother that she needs to make amends with her father, make up with her father. I said, because he's going to be dead in the next 6 months. And you're thinking, oh, well, he's 88. That could be any time. But the thing was, almost 6 months to the day, he was hit by a car, dragged 3 blocks, and died 2 days later. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, she never did make up.
We actually have a friend who was older that got hit by a truck and drugged.
Mhm.
He did not die. He survived. There was a reason. We don't know what it is. Well, he's a good guy. That could be the reason. But how old is he? How old is I don't want to say his name. We have a friend
that got hit by a truck.
got hit by a truck and drugged in Florida. I can't say his name because I don't want to put his name out there. How old is he?
Oh. How old is he?
Light bulb.
73, I think.
About 73.
74.
So I mean, it's unusual to hear other people having that.
Yeah. It's like I was working with a girl and she said, you know, my aunt was just diagnosed with cancer, lung cancer. And she said, she raised me. She's more like a mother to me than anything else. So I wonder if I should take off this week or next week or whatever. I looked at her and I said, you need to take off this week because she'll be gone by the end of the week. And she died that Sunday.
Hmm.
But there's always a reason for it so that the individual can either, in the first case, make up, settle, straighten things out. In the second case, so they could spend some time with their loved one.
Yeah, I mean, because you always remember that you made the effort to be there.
Right.
And sometimes being able to hold someone's hand
Mhm.
is more important than working.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I believe that wholly. And my mom contacted me when I got rift. She contacted me. She said, hey, I got some stuff that needs to be done. I have end stage COPD. And so I knew that meant anywhere in the next 2 years, she would be gone.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure that all of her stuff got done, that she wanted to get done. And so I went out there while I wasn't working. I had time.
Yeah.
And I went out there and did that. And I never regretted the entire time that I spent with her. I got to spend time with her while she was still healthy enough to know that I was there. She could still do stuff. In the end, the last few times we had seen her, she was just a shell.
Yeah.
I think what helped was my daughter being pregnant. It kept her alive until that baby was born.
Yeah. She had a reason for it.
Yeah, she did. My grandmother did the same thing. She was waiting for me to have a baby, and that kid wanted to stay in. Oh, and back when you said your kid was 11, mine was 10 pounds, 3 ounces, 22 inches long. So I know about those big kids that want to make their way into the world.
Oh yeah, in a hurry, in a hurry.
Yeah, she was in a hurry. Once she started, she is here pretty quick. And so your son and my daughter aren't too far apart in age. So
No, yeah, no, I had no pain until the last hour of the delivery.
no, she made sure I had pain.
I was lucky. I was lucky because I had, being in medicine, I have no horror stories, but it's like, oh, okay, this is good.
My third one was 40 minutes from the time that my water broke and I had no pain. My water broke, pain. 40 minutes later, I'm holding the baby.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Thank God I was at the hospital, right? So, but you have so many stories. And so how many books have you written?
I have 9. I'm a chapter away from finishing my 10th one.
And where can all your books be found?
They're on Amazon.com or Ingram Books, and you can get them in ebook or printed format.
And they are under June Lundgren, right?
Yes.
Well, because we all know sometimes we have
Pen names.
Pen names, and
Yeah.
ghostwrite. Some people ghostwrite for other people and
Right.
have their name on there. So, oh boy, see, Julie had one around the same size as yours, 11 pounds, 2 ounces.
See,
So
that's a good size baby.
yeah, you might as well just hand over the car keys.
Yeah, those my grandfather would have liked that because my grandfather was 6'7", who he's named after, and he would have considered that a good sized baby.
My aunt had one that was 13 pounds.
Yeah, my poor grandma did too. Her first baby was like 13 pounds, and my grandma was like 5 foot nothing. My grandpa was 6'7", so it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, like I said, 5'4" and 10 pounds 3 ounces for her first kid. Doctor goes, you were borderline diabetic. It's like, why didn't you tell me? Instead of just saying, stop eating pancakes for breakfast on doctor days. You could have just said, hey, you don't need to have pancakes and jelly. Just stop it.
Or cocoa every day.
Yeah. Well, she was a winter baby, so I possibly did have cocoa often. So, but I don't know. But what advice do you have to aspiring psychic mediums?
It's important to validate, and if you have any question about what you're seeing or what you're getting, make sure that you validate it. A lot of people do not understand that are coming up being mediums and stuff is you don't always hear the good ones. That's an issue. I've run into people that are mediums that they think they're actually hearing angels or they think they're actually hearing good spirits, and it's actually a negative entity in disguise. It's hard to tell the good ones from the bad ones unless you really look for it.
And how would you look for that though?
It's the way you feel when you're dealing with an angel. You feel at peace. You feel good. You don't have any doubts. When you're dealing with an imposter, you're not going to get that feeling. You're going to get a queasy feeling in the pit of your stomach. You're going to have doubts. You're like, wanting not to trust this individual, even though it looks like an angel. You're like, something doesn't seem right. What you're seeing. It's very important because they can just push their way right in. And it's like, I tell people, I lecture about doing paranormal investigations. Before you even do a paranormal investigation, make sure that you ask for protection. Because every paranormal investigation, every EVP session, every tarot reading, every intuitive reading, it all opens a door. And you have to close the damn door. I can't tell you how many hundreds, even thousands of doors I've closed, portals I've closed that have been opened by humans. They just don't get it. You have to close the door. It does open a doorway. That's my biggest thing is if you're going to sit down and do an intuitive reading or read tarots for somebody, ask for the blessing, ask for the guidance, from God or whatever deity you believe in, Buddha, whatever. And then when it's over, thank them and ask for the closing of the door. Do not leave the darn thing open because bad things come in.
I always tell people when they see a spirit or they have a spirit visit, anything like that, how did it make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
If it makes you feel good, it was more than likely a good spirit.
Right.
It's probably the one that you think it is.
Right.
Were you scared? Fear does a lot of things, but if it's somebody who loved you, you're not going to feel fear.
No.
And so I've told people that I don't know how many times. I always ask them directly, how did you feel when you saw it?
Yeah.
And that right there is the biggest thing for that.
And look at the eyes. People see the overall picture of the person, but they rarely look at the eyes. Look at the eyes because the eyes will tell you whether it's a negative. If they have the same colored eyes like they had in life, then if they have like blue, green, brown, fine. If they have red or gold eyes or black, then you know they are not what you want to talk to.
Right. And it's what do you do in the case of like some people say that they might see the face, but they don't, it's blurry. How do you focus on eyes if you really can't see them?
You can see them if you ask to see them, because sometimes a spirit will not show itself completely, and you can just ask them if they can show themselves completely. And if they refuse to do that, then you got an issue.
Okay, so Ruth asks, so are you saying don't get readings, or if you get readings, just make sure that if the medium doesn't close the door that you do?
Right. I'm not saying you don't get readings. It's great to get a reading. It's just usually as long as the medium, starts with a prayer of protection or, puts her protection in place. And then after the reading, I will always tell them that we're going to close the door. We're going to just, thank God for his help with this and close the door.
So Susan asks, she's got really good questions tonight. Do you think there are more mediums or people with abilities these days?
I don't really think there's more people with abilities. I think because of the day and age we live in, there are more people who are open to recognizing their abilities. And if you stop and think about it, with the advent of the internet, television, radio, you're going to get more and more people who say, hey, I can do that, or maybe I can do that. Whereas in my grandmother's era, my grandmother was born in 1902, and she spoke to her mother when she was old enough. Her mother spoke to her and said, listen, you keep what you can see in the family. You do not go outside and talk about it to other people, because they'll put you in the mental institution. That's what they used to do. So my grandmother was very closed about it. She kept her abilities to herself, and only the family and the closest friends knew about it.
And the thing is I've told people that same thing. As late as the 80s, people were still saying that, even the 90s in some cases. And Jane, if you want a reading from June, you're going to have to contact her privately, because she does not do readings publicly because of the fact that there may be things that are way too private to be shared across the world.
Yeah.
So because we are 100% public and out there for everybody in the world to see.
Yep.
Hello, millions of viewers.
Come on down.
I'm hoping. Yeah, come on down. Check us out. We're happy-go-lucky kind of people, and you're gonna love it. I swear. So, and yeah, Julie, you're right. More people do speak more openly about what we feel and see, and things in this day and age.
It's
And
become
so-
more acceptable. You know,
It-
even when I was young, it wasn't really that accepted. You know, if you said you were a medium or psychic, and in the 80s when Madame Cleo, that really, really did a job. You know, people think, oh, one of those. So it's more, people are more accepting of it now than they were, even like I said, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like when we were growing up, they always made mediums out to be gypsies.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
always had a scarf around their head, and
Don't get me
lots of
started on that
jewelry.
because my husband's like, where's your tambourine? I'm like, shut up.
I was a gypsy, I don't know how many times for Halloween because it was easy. You know, you had bohemian skirts in the 70s. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
easy just to pull
yeah.
something out of the closet and go, okay, I'm just going to put a mom's scarf around my head. I'm going to put a scarf around here.
Some
And
bangly bracelets, and there you go.
yeah, it was easy, because I'll tell you, we didn't buy costumes.
Mhm.
No.
Nope.
It
Nope.
was not something that you did back then. If you
No.
had one of those plastic faces, I thought that was creepier than anything else they could do.
Yeah, they were pretty creepy.
So, and Julie says she used to freak her grandmother out by telling her stuff.
Yeah.
So I understand that 100% because my mom told me the same thing. You're going to be put in the nut house.
Yeah.
So Susan asks, what are your thoughts on deja vu? I've heard several experiences where I know I have seen or done something before.
Yeah, it's a previous lifetime. It's usually what it is. Something will trigger a memory from a previous lifetime. And that's where like people will have like, my husband has an absolute fear of drowning. Absolute. And he's never even had a slip in the bathtub in his entire life. And he's 77. But one year he came to me about 10 years ago and he said, I had this dream 3 nights in a row. He says, I'm on board the Arizona. He said, I'm walking through water like you walk through air. And I'm in the rec room and there's a bunch of us down there. And the big topic of conversation is, why didn't they come for us? Because they entombed those men down there. Their bodies remained there. He said, the next thing I know, I'm up on the monument and I'm running my finger down to find my name. He says, and each time I come to my name, I wake up. So I said, let me get you a list of the men that died on the Arizona. It's like 18 pages worth.
Right.
I printed out. And page number 13, he says, this is it. This is who I was. This is a man, if you can't touch it, feel it, or see it, it doesn't exist. He's an auditor, so he's very left brain.
Yeah.
He says, this is who I was. And the name on that name that he showed was Raymond Arthur Roby. I named my son after my grandfather, Ray Arthur. There's no such thing as coincidence.
No.
And that's why he has absolute fear of drowning, because he died in 1941 and was reborn in 1945.
So do you also do past life readings then?
Mm-hmm.
I've had one past life reading and I don't. So short story, they told me that I was in the fire in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
The funny thing is I have no fear of fire. Ron will tell you, we've had fires and I just go, my hair's on fire. I mean, just like that, the stove's on fire. And I mean, and I'm not alarmed because I know exactly what to do. I just go and I take care of it. And,
Right.
and I don't know, but I have no fear of fire. Oh, and then I was a nurse. Now I hate blood.
I was going to say, you can't stand the sight of blood.
It's inside of blood. And I mean, I don't watch horror movies because of it. And, yes, I'm involved in the paranormal. And yes, I can deal with seeing giant spiders. I don't want a giant spider.
Right.
But I can handle seeing it. I can deal with rats. I can deal with all that crap. No blood. Don't show me blood. Don't show me gore. Don't show me a sonogram. Okay. Today I saw one. I was very happy when I saw the one I saw today, but I can't handle the sound of swishing heart
Oh yeah, yeah.
on there.
Yep.
I get sick to my stomach every time. I was not a nurse. I can
No, I
tell
don't
you
think
that
so.
now. I would have been I'm a good mom. I'm good at taking care of my kids and knowing what's wrong. Maybe I was something else related to medical field. I'm a different kind of nurse.
Maybe it was a psych nurse.
I don't know. But yeah, so for all you listening, I had a sonogram today of my heart, and it how they do the electrocardiograms, and it shows your heart as red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
So you can see all the electrical impulses going through.
Oh.
So I do have a very patriotic heart. So Pridemore is the perfect last name for me. Yes, I married into it, but apparently I have a lot of pride. So I was very happy about that today. So yes, I know I'm making jokes, but if we're not making jokes, we're not living. So
There you go.
we have, yes, it is. We have a comment from Barbara. She says, I used to see things when I was young, places I've been. My mother's always told me that I had an overactive imagination. And that, sounds to me like she has deja vu.
Right.
And I think deja vu is probably the most common
It
of
is.
the gifts. Ron
Mhm.
has that.
Yeah.
So is deja vu a gift?
It's more of an awareness.
Yeah.
It's more of an awareness than a gift. It's like, I know I've been here before. I know I've done this before, that sort of thing. But it's the awareness of the past life. It's the past life intruding into the present lifetime. And I've had had a gentleman that has had chronic back pain all his life. He's only like 40 years old. And I'm like, is your back pain like L5S1? And he's like, yeah. And I said, because you were speared there as a centurion, and you were a centurion in the Roman army.
Huh.
I said, you didn't die of it right away. It got infected, and then you died of it.
So
It was good.
yeah, Virgo's even worse.
Yeah.
So when it comes right down to it, when you're doing past life regression on someone, do you see all their lives or just the ones
No, usually you can see every life, but what I see are the ones that were the most important or the ones that are interfering in this present lifetime, ones that have a connection to what you're doing in this lifetime.
I'm going to grab your links so we can start sharing those because we're getting close to the end of the show. Oh, Angela asked while I'm sharing these links, so we're not ignoring stuff. She asks, what about out-of-body experience? And I think Angela remembers mine, so I'm not going to review it. A lot of people have heard it. But what do you think about past or out-of-body experiences?
Like when I died and went to the other side.
Yeah. I know that you've had them. How accurate are they?
It depends. They can be very accurate. It depends upon if you actually make it all the way to the other side. If you like have it and you don't go through the white light into the other side and arrive in the heavenly realm, that's when it's for real, and all the information that you get from that visit is accurate. If you have a near-death experience and you just stay with your body, or you go visit your friend across in Sweden, then they're accurate too. But sometimes people end up they'll have a near-death experience and all they'll see is black, and they think they're going to hell. That's not necessarily true, but a lot of them you have one because it's a message for you. It's either to change your life or to give you information that you didn't have before or to wake you up.
find, like I said, I've had out of body experiences that I can't call them near death. I've only had one experience where I stopped breathing. I don't know if it was near death.
Mhm.
I just stopped breathing. It was last February 2020. Yeah, February 2020. I stopped breathing. And I was under sedation, so I know that it was drug induced, and I was being watched. So more than likely, I did not have a near-death experience. Most likely, I just had oxygen deprivation for a couple seconds because somebody's watching. And if I wanted to make a mountain out of a molehill, I could tell people, "Hey, I died."
Yeah.
Maybe for a second,
Yeah,
but I don't think a second of death is going to relish me to being a near-death experience.
Yeah, no.
I've had more of near-death experience being by somebody who died when they died.
Yeah,
you know,
true. Very near death.
yeah. So that is what happened. But out-of-body experience, when I've had those, it's been only family related. I have never had an out-of-body experience that was not related to my family.
Yeah, like astral projection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it seems to only do with somebody's dying.
Mm.
And truly no near death. They're dead. And I happen to see it through that. I don't know how common that is to. The thing is I'm not sitting here at night laying here and going, or during the day even. I'm not sitting here going, hey, I want to astro project to June's house and see what she's making for dinner because I have no clue what to make, okay? Yeah. I'm not going to do that. But, I mean, I know that people do it randomly, that they can train themselves. How do you feel? Do you do any of that out-of-body stuff?
I can do that, yeah. I can travel to people's homes. If someone's having a problem or whatever, I can travel there and I can see that where they're sleeping, what they're doing, things like that. But it's usually because someone has asked me to check in on them, or if I have like a feeling that something's going to happen that they should be aware of, then I will do it. But for the most part, I don't invade people's privacy.
I know that you do remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being in Oregon, being the times that it is, you kind of have to. It's not like, it's cheap to travel.
Right.
So, hey, I want to go to Hawaii. Hey, this is the time to go. Can I tell you where my niece is? You guys can go check out and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do on their honeymoon. No, that would be really bringing down.
I was going to say that wouldn't be a good idea.
I'd go, surprise. Yeah, crazy Aunt Denise.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I do a lot of my demonic removals from a distance. I just finished one from Sweden. It's like, it comes out of Netherlands, Sweden, Australia. It makes no difference.
Is there a place that seems to have more demons than others, or are they just evenly spread out?
Mostly they're evenly spread out. There's quite a few of them in China. There's quite a few of them in Russia. And
one's leading Russia right now.
Yeah, like the one leading. Yeah.
Oh, and Ron just inputted, and I'll leave it as an EVP for everybody.
There's quite a few of them that's been quite active in Australia and New Zealand recently. Hawaii is big. They have a lot of negative paranormal energy there.
Do they have a lot of elementals in Hawaii?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Okay, I would assume that Japan has a ton.
Yeah.
Based on their history, same as China.
Mm-hmm.
What is, there's, I don't even know how to get into elementals, to be honest. I really don't, because, historically speaking, there is so many out there. How do we determine what's an elemental versus what's a human spirit? I mean, I know, I know the difference between what the definitions are. How do I tell, looking at something, that it's not just it's not just a ghost of somebody, but it's a shapeshifter of some sort?
The true elemental. Yeah. That's elementals have a different they have a different vibrational frequency. They have a different energy about them than a human soul does. And I'm able to see the difference between them. So that helps a lot. And it just comes. It's natural for me to see the difference. Just like demons have a different vibrational frequency than angels do, or elementals, or humans do. It's innate in me to be able to tell the difference. So it's hard for me to explain it, to people, because I know what I see, I know what I hear, I know what I feel. But for me to tell you, oh, this is, you turn left and then you can see the big head, or, they got bug eyes or whatever, it's like, I can't really explain it. It's a knowing. What my grandmother called it, the knowing.
Yeah.
And she just knows what it is. Yeah. And elementals care more about the earth, and they have little tolerance for humans. So if you're desecrating the earth, if you're polluting the earth, they're going to be on your case big time.
Mm-hmm.
They care about that. They don't care about Aunt May or Uncle Bob. They care about the earth.
They care about that tree that's dying in your yard more than they care about this other crap.
Exactly.
So
don't cut down 10,000 trees and not plant anything to replace them. That's not cool.
So we have one more question here from Barbara, and she says, I'm sure DC has a high level of evil there, or is that being cleared out?
We're working on it. Believe me, we're working on it.
Well,
we're working on it.
Okay, so can you train someone to do what you do?
In a couple weeks.
Only if, actually, I have 2 people that I'm training, and the only reason I can train them is because they have warrior angels within them, and they have a knack for dealing with dark ones. I'm trying to train them so that they can take care of things on their own.
So you can be a mentor in
yes.
that. And
I do mentoring, but these 2 are special, and they have the ability they're not afraid of demons, and they have the ability to grasp what I'm trying to say and what I'm teaching them.
And Susan asks another really good question. She goes, so is the info about the Antichrist revealed to you?
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things we don't want to know.
No.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
Well, then, you know what, everybody, fill your life with laughter and love, because
yeah,
that's
life's
the only way to fight it. So I'm gonna ask a really weird question. At least it's weird to me. Do I have, since I'm asking you directly, do I have any warrior angels with me?
Yes. Not with you, in you.
In me? Okay, well, I guess we'll be talking.
Yeah, I can, if you send me an email, and I'll give you the name of I'll give you her name and what her specialty is.
Well, you're probably going to say it, and I'm going to know it right off the bat when you say it. But I've never asked that question to anybody before, because the fact that as far as for other mediums, it's hard to read me because I keep a wall up 99% of the time.
It's because I don't look at you. I look at your soul.
And most people look at me and don't see my soul. And the ones that do see my soul know that I'm a good person and that I really do. I give a shit about all of you.
Yeah.
I really wish I didn't. It hurts sometimes.
That's the advantage of having Ariel inside of me. I look beyond the physical.
So I've shared all your websites in the chats. So every place that this is airing, we'll see those chats. And I did not have an email for you. So what is your email?
Demon Seer and the number 2 at proton.me.
Okay, so I got Demon Seer 2 at proton, PROTON.me.
Yep.
Okie dokie. And let me preface this with email. So all of you who asked information about yourselves, this is where you'd send that. And please be patient. June gets a lot of emails. And if you don't hear back from her.
I'm working 106 hours every 2 weeks as a nurse. So.
Oh. Well,
Until January when I retire.
Yay! So the hospital you work in, do you see spirits everywhere?
Yes.
It sucks, doesn't it?
It does.
I was in the hospital where I gave birth to all 4 of my kids this morning. And, I was actually in the room where I almost lost my daughter when she was a month old to whooping cough.
Oh, yeah.
I remembered the bad part is it was like a bad movie replaying in my head. Maybe that's the reason why my heart rate didn't go down very fast, because I was actually I thought I was in the room next door. I was actually in the room that I was in bed in where they tried to put an IV in her head because she wouldn't. She is a fighter when she was a month old. She wouldn't sit still. So
that was my first death was when I was a baby. I had whooping cough because they lost me and brought me back.
Yeah, I was in the hospital with her for 11 days, and for 6 months she slept on my chest I never left the hospital. I left her alone long enough to take 1 shower in 11 days. And I took that in the hospital, and they put me in paper scrubs because she had puked all over me and I had no clothes. But, there are some very good memories that come out of that, but there is also some really horrible ones. But it is strange when you're actually reliving a horrible moment in your life while you're in the ER. Hospitals, we talked earlier about weddings, and we talked about funerals, maybe not on here, but maybe pre-show. You see all this stuff, and the hospital, when you're trying not to be stressed out and stuff, and you see spirits walking by, sometimes it's hard not to go, oh, that it's not real. Or, not here. It's real. It's not here.
That's why, you find demons in hospitals, care facilities, and sanitariums.
Luckily,
and prisons.
Yes. Well, that's also the same place as everybody finds God.
Yeah. Well,
because I hear it a lot. Every time we've been in the ER, you always hear somebody praying to God. Oh, God, I'll just do this if you do this.
Yeah, yeah. Making a deal.
Always making a deal. And hopefully they're making the deal with God and not, because there are some that have done that. So everybody, I would like to thank you so much for coming and listening to June and I chitter chatter. And I hope you enjoyed it. Join us tomorrow night for Sister Farrah Rose, demonologist, on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, at 5 p.m. Central. And then join us on the Haunted Vortex on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, when we are going to be talking to everyone about their own stories. So join our guests. We have some special guests, Rhodey Speak, Wendy Schindler, and Scott Johnston. And if you have a story you want to share and you want to come on, contact me and I will get you a time. Otherwise, you're going to be hearing from the guest hosts, all of us hosts that are going to be on there sharing their stories, and it's going to be fun. So, and then join us next Monday night here on the Paranormal Pride at 7 p.m. Central for Reverend Mike Norton. He has an excellent book on, let's see, I got it right here under my desk. Oh, nope, that's Cincinnati Ghosts. It is, let's see. I don't want to screw it up because it's on spiritual warfare. So you guys are going to want to hear about spiritual warfare with him and Farrah. And Just so you know, I used to be on a show with Mike Norton. We used to be on Demonology Today with Ken and Farrah Deal, and which is Farrah Rose that you guys are going to be meeting tomorrow night. So join us. I think you're going to love it. And just remember, the opinions expressed here are solely mine and June's. Don't report us. Just tell us. So thank you guys all, and we'll see you tomorrow night.